Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. Once again, Happy New Year's to you and your family.
Sir.
Michael Benson is reporting now that Gervonta Davis, or Abdul Wahid, whatever you guys are calling him today, he is now the WBA champion. Now, the WBA has confirmed that Gervonta Davis is the sole WBA champion. We know that Devin Haney was the WBA super champion, but he moved up to 140 pounds and vacated his titles. And we heard Gervonta Davis a few weeks ago basically saying that he didn't want the title. Now, I don't really understand that fact, to be quite honest with you, and I never understood that statement because I always understood that he was the WBA champion before the regular champion. He's always been the regular champion from my understanding. So now the WBA has made it official that he is the WBA champion. I guess the question is whether or not Gervonta Davis is going to be interested in actually defending that title. We know that, Tank really doesn't, he's really not necessarily concerned about holding belts. He's basically taking the Floyd Mayweather route in terms of belts only collect dust, and they're not necessarily important to his career. And at the level that he at, that's probably true, and I can understand not wanting to pay all those sanctioning fees. It makes sense to me. I get it. But there is still a certain cachet that comes along with being a champion. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not he holds on to this title. Now, Jay, while I'm talking, if you could look up who's the number one contender for the WBA title at the lightweight division, I'd be curious as to who that is, because maybe that'll give us an indication of who he may fight next. But we got to see. Okay, got you. We got to see what Tank is going to be interested in doing moving forward with these titles. He's been having some challenges in terms of even getting out of the city of Baltimore so that he can hold a training camp. So it doesn't feel like Tank's going to be fighting anytime soon. And Devin Haney, although they've been trading tweets, exchanges through social media, it doesn't appear that they're going to fight next, considering Devin Haney is currently in the process of negotiating with Ryan Garcia. So who's at the lightweight division that would make sense? Well, of course, everybody would love to see Shakur Stevenson. My gut feeling is that is a fight that's not going to happen. And I know a lot of people put the onus on Gervonta Davis in terms of Tank being the issue in regards to that fight not necessarily being made, but it takes two sides to tango. And I'm not so sure that Top Rank is truly interested in making that fight at this time. And the only reason I say that is because really with two fighters of that level, I'm talking about skill set, you would like to see Shakur Stevenson with a higher cachet in order for everybody to really, I don't want to call it cash out, but for it to do the biggest business that it can possibly do. I think those guys are going to try to hold off on that. And it's not just the fighters. I'm thinking the entities that are around them, they're going to want to maximize the revenue associated with that fight before they make it. So they're probably going to want to see the cachet or the profile of Shakur Stevenson increase a little bit before they make that fight. Maybe a Frank Martin could make some sense.
Said he would want to wait.
Yeah. So even, maybe Frank Martin, that could make some sense. Who knows? But who's the WBA number one contender?
Cruz.
So he needs to forego his mandatory for sure. Don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Don't want to see that.
Yeah. It's Cruz, William Zepeda, and then Frank Martin.
I wouldn't mind seeing William Zepeda or Frank Martin. I don't want to see Isak Cruz. Jay, what's your thoughts on that? You think Tank is going to hold on to the WBA title? You think he's going to try to make more interesting, intriguing, engaging fights? What's your thoughts on that?
I think he definitely make more intriguing, interesting fights this year. He still has his list that he talked about. The list we all know, Devin, T.O., Shakur were on this list. Even Loma, when he was talking on an interview last year, it just has to make sense. The fight no one wants. I don't even think his camp or Tank don't even want this fight as an Isak Cruz rematch. No one wants that. So this is specifically to Jerry. No one wants that. Okay? No one wants that. I don't want that. I would love to see the Williams Zepeda just because it's something different. Although I think Tanks take care of Zepeda. Frank Martin after his last fight, he hasn't fought in a while. I would still love to see that fight, but it's not as high as it once was after Frank's last showing on that. And then after that, you got Edwin De Los Santos, aka James St. Patrick, aka Ghost. Then you got Floyd Schofield, and then Jose Rayo Valenzuela, who just probably had knockout of the year of 2023 on Chris Colbert. Don't want to see that neither. Ryder's been trying to talk it up because he wants that fight. That's a big money fight for him. He's been on the shelf because of his loss to Chris Colbert. He came back, like I said earlier, got that win against Chris Colbert, but no one wants to see that fight just yet. Tank's team already denied that, said he'll get him out of there in like 3 rounds. Now, as far as anyone else in that, Floyd Schofield again, no. Loma is already talking about Cambosos. So I don't see why Tank would keep the belt. Because if they're going to force that mandatory, I hope Tank would say no. But again, it'll be a money fight. I don't want to see it, but they're going to pitch it as going to be a money fight, which I don't think it will. I don't think it does like it did the first time. It didn't do a great number the first time anyway. And the second time around, it would be even worse with him and Cruz. But I can see Tank just saying, belt don't make me. But we know Tank would say it, and then he'll think about it, and then he might get coaching or some counseling from Al and even Floyd. Be like, keep the belt just for now, so you can use that as more leverage to fight, Shakur, if you want to, for unification with that. So we'll see. I know Tank's not really big on the belt, especially with those fees, but he can use it a little bit as long as they don't make him have the mandatory against Isaac Cruz. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I don't want to see Isaac Cruz either. I think there's a situation here, though, with Gervonta Davis that it's imperative that he fight one of 3 fighters in 2024. Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, or Frank Martin. Now, those fights don't need to be next at all because he just came off of a big fight with Ryan Garcia, and we don't ask any fighters to truly go and just fight the best fights and best fighters back to back to back. They usually, and this is spanned all the way back to, you can go back to the 80s. Guys didn't fight the best competition. They will have fights that were more so sometimes showcase fights in between fights. But I just feel like Tank has to fight one of those guys in 2024. If it were me, I would suggest that he fights Devin Haney next. And the only reason I say that is because Devin is someone who is a big fighter, and soon he's going to be too big to fight. Because, the way it's going for Devin, he ain't going to be able to make 140 soon either, because he had to strip down just to make 140 to fight Regis Prograis. So if you want to grab somebody to fight in 2024, I would suggest that it's Devin Haney. But he got to make one of those fights. Isaac Cruz, to me, isn't the fight. I think the only reason he's positioned as the number 1 contender for the WBA is just really to position him for a rematch with Tank. And he was only competitive because Tank fought with one hand. I do not want to see Isaac Cruz. It's not a good fight.
No.
But William Zepeda or Frank Martin, from a WBA perspective, would be. And Tank could probably leverage his standing with the WBA in order to deliver that fight. So you guys tell us what you think in the comments section. Tank Davis is not a WBA champion. Will he hold on to the belt? And if he does, will it be Isaac Cruz next? Or will it be William Zepeda or Frank Martin? Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, peace.